Now like to start with the second session for the conference, and the title is New Essential Elements for Emerging Hospitality Market. And as hospitality experts and personalities who have been in this sector for a substantial amount of time, all of you must have your own key elements that you believe are required for a successful hotel. Now in this panel, we'll be shedding some light on what are some of the new essential elements for emerging hospitality market. What is it that will help you stand out from the crowd, or what is it that you must have because that is the new essential element that customers expect. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together in welcoming the moderator of this session, Mr. Anil Sharma, Principal Architect of A. Sharma Associates, also the Director of AiM Conference and Exposition. Mr. Anil Sharma is a seasoned architect who has developed hundreds of properties all over India and also projects in Nepal, Bangladesh and Kazakhstan. He's also the architect for this beautiful property that we're doing our conference in, and his very first project in Pune, which was later branded as the Holiday in Pune, was also awarded the Best New Hotel of the Year in the Asia Pacific region by Hotel in Worldwide, delivering quality properties all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Anil Sharma as the moderator of this session. I would now like to call upon our first panelist, Ms. Reema Diwan, Director, Design and Technical Services, India and South Asia, Accor Hotel. Ms. Reema brings along 22 years of experience in hospitality and a fantastic track record of delivering award-winning and iconic hotels. She is also instrumental in delivering projects under various brands, reflecting her strategic thinking and vision of crafting design-led spaces. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Reema on stage. I would now like to call upon our next panelist, Mr. Ganesh Madasamy, Principal at Aston Design Singapore, on stage as our next panelist. Mr. Ganesh's 22 years in architecture and interior design in the hospitality sector include more than a decade as design director and associate at HBA, where he is known for bringing excellence in design and service to award-winning projects of diverse scales and styles across the Asia Pacific region and beyond. We're delighted to have Mr. Ganesh with us as a panelist for this session. Next up, I'd like to invite our next panelist of this session, Mr. Mandar Zawari, the Vice President, Design and Project Management at Marriott International. Mr. Mandar has 14 years of experience with GDPA and is working closely with internal departments as well as external owners and clients. He is the man spearheading the design team of the fastest growing hotel chain in the Asia Pacific region. He's the one who delivers Profit by Design hotels and not just adheres to Marriott International's design standards, but also meets the owner's expectation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Mandar Zawari on stage. We'd now like to welcome our next panelist, Mr. Sahil Khan, on stage, Senior Director, Design and Technical Services, South Asia at Radisson Hotel Group. Mr. Sahil Khan has over 2 decades of experience in design management and project coordination of luxury to upper middle scale hotels. He's actively handling a portfolio of more than 65 hotels in different stages of design and construction. We're delighted to have Mr. Sahil Khan with us. We'd also like to invite our next panelist in this session, Mr. Senthil Kumar Ji, Senior Regional Director at Architecture, Design and Construction, Hilton. He's handling projects in India, Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh as part of the Southeast Asia team, and he oversees design and construction of Hilton projects in these countries as a one-point contact for hotel owners till handover to operators. Very glad to have Mr. Senthil with us in this panel. Ladies and gentlemen, once again a big round of applause for all our panelists and our fabulous moderator, who seems very eager and excited to start this session. So, Mr. Anil, I'd like to hand over the session to you now.
Thank you, Sadiksha. Thank you very much. And before I start with the session, I would like to draw your attention towards the theme of this year's AiM conference. Our theme is primarily, if you have got your brochure, so you must have read it by now, is evolving trends in hospitality for the new frontiers. Now, new frontiers is what has happened is actually when Corona came, the hotels were growing left, right, and center all over the country, and there was a peak boom time. More than 5,000-6,000 rooms being built in Euro cities and Bombay and everywhere. And suddenly Corona came and everything was kind of, everybody was quite, I would say, depressed. The markets were depressed and things were not looking bright. And Corona was something which suddenly I realized that we grew much older till that time when I was feeling much younger. But having seen this panel, I feel now we are of the next generation. So anyway, welcome here. Now the theme was, after Corona, suddenly now the last conference we had, what after Corona was our theme. Like, Corona has taught us a lot. A lot of business travel got reduced. Airlines are still not opened up. We didn't know what was happening. 2 years down the line, suddenly there's a huge boom in hospitality industry everywhere again, going back to the same scales as what we were witnessing around 2008 to 12 and those years. But the travelers' desires and wish lists have changed. Now the new buzzword for travel trends are off-grid travel, cultural experiences, the wellness retreats, experiential tourism, company. These are the key buzzwords which are kind of huge market and opening up a big, huge segment for hospitality industry. Now, I mean, we've heard the development guys earlier say that Kiran and Endicott said that Marriott or the luxury brands are generally people applications which could sustain those kind of products are now the in thing and they're happening. So there's a big, huge new market potential which is opened. The old one is again coming back, but while the canvas has become much larger. Now to create these experiential, and they talked about that, experiential tourism and off-grid travel and things like that. Architecturally, I mean, the young team of architects here. So my take on the topic is primarily to know what are the essential elements for architecture kind of design so that we are able to deliver the such experiences and also able to make sure that the traveler or the guest's aspirations are taken care of with those elements. So I'll like to start with Senthil first. Yeah, it's on.
So thank you so much, Mr. Anil. See, I think it's all going to revolve around, the session which we really had with, development previously. Like, it all starts from the learnings, which we gone from the COVID period. In fact, like in Hilton, what we did was like, we did a good amount of a survey across all the region, like I would say, US, Asia Pacific, and all other region. So eventually, like, it was a more of a qualitative and quantitative one. What it really summarized into, like, it was summarized briefly on a 4 category, I would say. Like, one is like, again, the guests want to have a more experiential involvement when they come and stay in any one of the hotel. That's one. Second is, again, they want to be taken care of more. They want that attention. Second. Then third is like, they want a more of a frictionless technology as an experience, rather than, they don't want the technology to come in between. It has to work on a more of a seamless manner, along with the human-led thing. That's what the overall learnings is. So the outcome of these things, now we are really introspecting or looking into here, how we can incorporate those things into the design elements during the initial stage of the design itself, so that we can deliver the right experience to the guest.
Yeah.
So that was the broad framework, I would say.
Yeah.
So it can be broadly divided into various zones. Like, let's talk about the public spaces. Then comes to the guest room experiments. I think while we move forward, we'll discuss on those areas. But the thing is like how we are going to create space which is more of hybrid in nature when it comes to the public areas. How we make the spaces more efficient so that we can convert the spaces more easily and efficiently. I think that was the need what we really felt during the COVID scenario. And one of the other component is like the wellness become more part and parcel of everybody's life, after COVID. In fact, it become more of a daily routine, I would say. One of the thing what we currently started incorporating in part of our guest rooms is like we call it 5 feet to fitness, which is like part of the guest room. We started introducing some of the gym equipments into the room itself, where you can do your own workouts in the room, and we piled up couple of tutorials also, so you can start running on those things, and you can start those things actually. Just start up with this one. Then comes the technological aspects. Of course, we have been doing a lot of contactless things. One is it starts with the digital key, where app-based things we are trying to avoid the key card system, so that it becomes more of a seamless transition. Once you enter into the hotel, you can do a web check-in directly into it and enter into the rooms. How that really makes you more, you don't want to go to the front desk really to ask for the things and all those things. I think while moving forward, we'll discuss further on this one.
Sahil.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think before I answer this question, I'd like to take a cue from what Mr. Kachu said. We really need to understand the consumer first. And we need to differentiate that, a consumer for a mid-market brand or hotel will have completely different demands, because his pattern will be very different to a luxury customer. So first thing is that you cannot have the same kind of approach across the different segments. You have to have a very tailor-made kind of solution to each type of usage. But one of the things, or one of the key learnings from the last 2 or 3 years is that spaces that can change their functionality, spaces that can change their usability as per the consumer demands will always be very successful vis-a-vis spaces that cannot change their utilization pattern. Having said that, I think business and leisure will go hand in hand. There will be more and more travel executives like ourselves who will travel with their families, and we need to create products which take care of all sorts of needs. They have something to offer for the business needs. At the same time, there is something for the families, for the kids, for the wives, so on and so forth. Third, I think very important is health and wellness. How do we, the consumer already is very, very conscious. How do we kind of extend an experience which is a very satisfying experience. So these are the 3 things that I can talk about.
Mandar.
Yeah. So COVID really had, put a pause and kept everybody thinking about themselves, how they were, living their lifestyle and all, and it has definitely impacted and changed the thinking and the perception towards lifestyle. And I think in the near future, and that's what's already happening, is people are thinking more about themselves. That's why if you really look at, they want to work from their residences. Companies are also supporting all that intention, and people are now traveling to certain locations because they don't need to be necessarily in their offices. They can work remotely.
Correct.
And good quality hotels and resorts can provide that kind of an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Again, like what both of them mentioned about wellness, taking care of their physical and emotional, needs, and those will be taken care of new age hotels. In many of our hotels and also other operator chains, I mean, we are looking at creating vegetable and herb gardens where, fresh produce can be used. Talking about sustainability, that's another, task which every hotel operator is taking up very seriously. Like what we discussed before with you, I mean, we opened a Meridian hotel in the Maldives where 100% of power generation is by solar alone, and lot many owners are very keenly interested to employ that kind of an initiative, going beyond how can their hotel be really create that kind of an effort towards sustainability in almost every aspects. I think that's the way to go.
All right, okay. Ganesh,
Hi.
you got that?
Yeah.
Hello.
Already have.
Hello.
I'll leave that. Is it working?
Hello. Can you hear me?
No, I think you better, but I also moved that out.
I don't think.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming over, and it's been a great opportunity seeing all the delegates around. Now, there are a few things that we wanted to try and highlight and try and understand more. We went through COVID, and we were in COVID. Now we are post-COVID, right? What are we doing when in COVID, before COVID, we had a standard size of design and whatever we did. After COVID, we thought, no, this is not right. We've got to put restrictions. Design has to come with restrictions. People has to be far apart. Now we are off COVID. Are we going back to where we came from? Are we going to move forward, right? So I think the moving forward is something very important. We're not going to go back, though there are some a group of people who still want to have that. The new trend, like what our speakers were saying about, it's something called gag. So the gags is something where you take your job and then finish the job. Rest of the time you enjoy, finish your enjoyment, ready for the next job, right? And these are not small gags. And these are real customers for the upcoming hotels. And what are we trying to do for them, right? Another important trend which we've completely overlooked in the past decades is about kids and adolescents who are becoming a big part of our family, right? So I think kid-centric is something that's very important in the ways to move forward. Nowadays in families, I think mostly probably the trips are planned, the hotels are planned based on what the kids' intent is, right? What they wanted to do. It's not about what you want to do, what you want to enjoy, it's what they want to enjoy. If they are happy, you are even more happier. And if the hotels can take care of both these segments at the same time, I think that's the way to go forward. And the last thing I think we need to literally talk about and see how we can is something called business pleasure. We call it pleasure. It's a new term that we use, that we talked about. How do we put it together, and how designs can actually try and include both the aspects of this. And finally, we're coming out of COVID. At the same time, we are 10 times ahead in terms of technology. So what's sustainable technology? So these are the few important topics. I think it's important, and it'll be interesting to talk about all these. Thank you.
Okay. Rima.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, that's a very interesting question, but I see it very differently, because the basis of hospitality, trend, market, and design has been like design thinking, because we keep user in the center and then design the overall experience. And in past 2 years, there has been some shift and a great evolution for hospitality industry in terms of design. Of course, it was a bit of bumpy drive for hotel operators. But that has also given space to rediscover and correct a lot of things. Suppose number one, like personalized experience, we always talk about that. Now it is more important and essential how we can deliver personalized experience to the guest and making the design thinking and a user in center and then design spaces, which means we were always talking about creating diversified spaces in the lobby. Now, because we feel that real estate is not that cheap, right? And we want to give better return to our owners. So in Accor, we are thinking of, in fact, reducing and redefining those lobby spaces and giving experience to the guests that they are checking into a very cool environment, they're checking into a bar, because the bar also has its own operating time and lobby. So combining that all together to deliver a different kind of experience and making it more viable for our hotel owners. And of course, being a little ahead from what other brands are doing. So that's something interesting to look at. And another trend essential which I see that which is going to take place and taking place is sustainability, which is like really, really critical. Earlier, the hotels were designed, and then we used to think about how we can incorporate sustainable measures like conservation of water, zero carbon footprint. But now a lot of importance has been given to that, and this is like being considered as part of the design, like what Mandar also mentioned, right? And I think that is really, really important and essential. And experiential spaces, hospitality, which has something more to deliver in terms of location. Because come to think of it, every hotel lobby, they will have almost the same thing to deliver. How you can differentiate within your own brand, like suppose if one city we have, every brand, in fact, we have 3 or 4 no hotels. How do we, within our brand standard, brand ethos, how do we differentiate that experience? And that is like through creating more authentic experience, tying it with the location. But often this is taken as, when we give this to the designer as a brief, often it is taken as too literally that the entire hotel is like filled with artworks which are like talking about the location, right? I think we need to think it very differently and talk about, or maybe deliver it in a manner so that, it's not literal, but actually they are customers or guests are actually experiencing that local and authentic experience things, which could be like collaborating with local markets, local business, and getting those, like it could be local coffee, could be like some sort of a detox water or cuisine or fresh produce, which guests can, take it back home. And we are also working right now, designing it for nomads, right? We are designing it for nomads, technology driven, and creating those hybrid spaces like meeting room, thinking out differently and creating those co-working spaces so that the guest and people can work from anywhere and everywhere. These are the essentials.
All right. What I think, let me first summarize whatever each one of you said. Synthel is right, flexible spaces is going to be the trend. I mean, that everybody now knows that lobby cannot remain a lobby anymore. It's more like an activity area, and it's going to be much more active and much more different than what was there in these kind of things. Wellness, everybody is saying, but wellness has always been there. Wellness will always remain there. Flexible space, something which makes sense now. Tailor-made spaces, Sahil says. So tailor-made spaces, especially to suit each need and each individual customer, that makes a lot of sense. And of course, organic food, creating that experience and giving them the spaces to move out, not remain within the 4 walls, the kind of connection between the outdoors and indoors is barrier-free and seamless. So that's the kind of experience that may be required in terms of public spaces, even the guest rooms. Ganesh, fantastic keywords, catchwords. Blizzard. By the way, AiM is all about pleasure only. I mean, we've been doing that for so many years. So it's pleasure with fun. And yes, you did say about kids, because kids are the most ignored in our hotels. I mean, they've been, because our hotels have been built around business travelers' need and everything. Now the scenario is completely changed. I mean, there's no more business travel, it's always pleasure. So when you do pleasure, the family destinations, the kids are going to be there, and adding a lot more interesting things for kids is a good keyword for hotels. Rima, of course, the most important thing that Rima said was the personalized experience. That's going to be something. The moment now based on all this, when we talk about personalized experiences, tailor-made spaces, completely out-of-the-box thinking for architecture designing, it's no more about four walls, it's more about living with nature, going back to your roots. That's the kind of architecture one is trying to create. Now again, Rima said that brand standards. What actually happens is the brands do have a particular thing set out, an image for a product. I mean, they have their own vision for a product. But how much is this tailor-made spaces, these flexible spaces, and are they ever in conflict with the brand standards, or is there any or is there any flexibility in the brand standard that a complete out-of-the-box thinking is possible for your branded per se volumes in terms of the present-day need? Senthil.
Sir, it's a very well question actually. So whenever even I attend any panel discussion, I always highlight this. Brand standard is a grammar, always. Like how we look into this is like when we speak a language, grammar is more important. So I think we need to really take care from that perspective only that So when it comes to designing each and every product, I would say how we are going to play within that brand and keep that consistency, I would say, in terms of the brand. For example, like suppose if you take our focus service brand, Hilton Garden or Doubletree, like it has its own ethos and personality, but how we are going to achieve that, the context, I will say, suppose if we are going to build a hotel in Kathmandu, we want that context to be there, but to what extent? So that's what we are really looking for. Like it can be, the main design dictates that how the concept is going to evolve. Are we going to take a traditional route, or are we going to take a contemporary route? But eventually, the guest room, if you really say, it's going to revolve around 4 Bs. I always say, like bed, your breakfast, then comes your bandwidth. So I think it's going to revolve around in that circle. How we are going to design a room, a clutter-free, minimalist room. Like I think if we say 2022 traveler was a change traveler, 2023 is an evolved traveler. So how the design is going to evolve to that extent? Like there are a lot of changes is going to happen. I think Kachu sir was telling in the morning, like how we are going to acclimatize ourselves with respect to the current scenario and situation, and give the right design, a clutter-free space to the guests who are coming into the property. I'll give you a small example, like these wireless chargers. How we are going to integrate those things as part of our design. Like it's going to be a work on a similar. We started doing that one also in all our upcoming projects. Like like you use a table. So one corner of the table you will have a wireless charger. You just go and keep your phone rather than looking for a socket or a USB or a C-type drive to plug into it. So I think it's kind of the right balanced blend, I would say. Your technology, the design concept, and the brand standards go hand in hand. And like we are not, I would say, like I don't agree with the fact that brand standard is against a design. Suppose sometimes if I feel the design need that, we will go against the brand and let my people know that the design need that. Let's have that. In fact, I used to have a lot of fight within my brand people, letting them know if I'm going to take that one, the product is not going to look good or not justifying the concept what you're looking for. So I think if we are on that same note, I would say everything goes on to hand under the right balanced note.
Great. But we need to keep a watch on this time on the thing. They've taken away a lot of our time, but we still have enough time. I think we'll take some extension. Go ahead.
Okay, as far as I am concerned, brand standards are a guideline. They do not tell us that this is the brand standard and you have to follow it to the T. At the end of the day, I think most of the people who are sitting here are all design managers. That's what we do for a living. And it is our job to kind of strike that balance between the place where we're building the hotel, the brand standards, the consumer demand. And let me give you an example. You can't be building the same hotel in Srinagar and in Kanyakumari. So, I mean, I'll take the liberty of saying this, that I won't be doing my job well if I just say follow the brand standards and just replicate the hotel. So you have to understand the consumer demands and then give a very tailor-made sort of solution. I'm keeping it quick because we are in paucity of time. Over to you.
I would say, Sahil, you put it very right. It's all about what the guest is expecting, from a particular location. And brand guideline, like what you mentioned, it's just a supporting infrastructure to support that experience. And that's all.
Yeah.
Right, great. Finish.
I think I totally agree with that, right? So, like what you said, it's more like a grammar, just like a measuring tool, right? What is coming inside is what we are supposed to be doing for the property, or for the place, or for the location and things to make the experience better. For example, we're doing a hotel in Bangalore presently. It's in a coffee plantation. There is a JW standard, like what they want walls and everything. But what we went ahead and did was, how about the guest interacting with the coffee pluckers, right? What is that experience? How does that influence the design, right? And that has created a lot of vibe, right? So within whatever four walls that you have a lot of opportunities to do what you really need to do. Right? So its guideline is just probably a grammar or something, or a thumb rule you've got to follow. But the rest is all yours. Right? That's what I think.
So I concur with this. Brand standards are guidelines. They are equally important. I would not say that they are not that important. Of course, they're equally important. But there is also rational thinking which is applied based on the project. Whatever is required in the project, there is a lot of flexibility within the brands. Now even the brands are very open. There are some level 1 standards. There are some standards which you can actually, like fire and life safety. I wouldn't compromise on that at all. But something to do with the space, spatial planning, of course there is a lot of rational thinking based on the location, based on the plot size. So, and brand standards are there to support so that the brand experience is delivered, and there is a consistency of experience when the guest is experiencing the hotel.
All right. I do have a lot of more questions, but I think we don't have enough time. So we'll try to wrap it up. I'll try to kind of now make it concise. Everybody in this thing, brand said that their brands, they are very flexible, and that's what they're there for, because they are managing the design and the architects are there to design it. So if everything works as a team, everybody has a job to do, and during discussions and during this thing, brands are very flexible also. But I think a little bit flexibility is required now, more than what was needed in the business kind of hotels where each city, Bangalore, Delhi, Gurgaon, we could do kind of similar thing. But when you're going to offbeat locations like, say, Gulmarg or Pahalgam or Pauri or somewhere in Garhwal, things need to be much more flexible in terms of, and that's where I think you guys are. I mean, you're the custodian for the brands and as well as for architecture too, because primarily you guys are trained as an architect, so you have that respect. So great. Teamwork is what will create an ultimate product, and that's the most important key factor for creating the kind of experiences that we need. Thank you. I'll now open this for the house. Sorry. Yeah, please.
Sorry, see, other than the public areas and guest rooms, there are a lot of focus on the back of those areas, I would say. Like we call it, heart of the house, like how to keep our team members vibrant, like, those days are gone, like white tiles. So we want to create a mood board for the team members, like cafeteria should look like a restaurant so that they can go sit, enjoy their meal, background music, Wi-Fi for them. So you make feel part of the hotel. The attrition rate really goes a lot on that one, which currently the hotel industry is facing in the current situation. So there is a lot of focus on that area also. I just want to highlight it.
That goes,
Yeah.
that goes. Hotel is run by staff. I mean, unless you make things efficient for them or you make it
Yeah.
interesting for them, the hotel will never run.
There's an old saying, happy staff makes happy guests. So we need to follow that.
All right?
So, yeah, I would like to ask, I think so for all what we are saying in terms of whatever experiences we want to bring in leisure, all brands have created a soft brand, which is enabling as an architect and designer to do what is possible beyond the books. Now, when it comes to the book, everybody is right in his own manner. Some brands have liberty, some brands don't give liberty. But there is one factor which we are all forgetting about is owner's aspiration. And what has brand to say about it? Because this is the most challenging factor for us as an architect and designer to bridge between the brand and the owner's aspirations.
Very good question. Yeah. Who would like to answer that? Okay.
I think it's an interesting question, but let me answer it. The owner knows what he's getting into. So the owner knows a clear distinction between a Radisson, a Marriott, an Accor, so on and so forth. So, the owner knows what a Radisson typically would look like, what a Marriott would look like. So I really don't feel there is a big difference between owner's aspirations and the brand standards, because at the end of the day, you are all trying to achieve the same goal, which is, you want a successful hotel. You want a successful hotel, and you ultimately it should look like the brand that is, that it is showcasing. So I don't think there are big challenges around that.
Thank you,
And
Sahib,
just
owner, you have signed for a Radisson, but his aspiration is like blue. He
Yeah.
signs for a Courtyard and his aspiration is like Marriott. So these are the aspirations, and especially for public areas. And it's a big challenge for architects and designer. And I think so there is some disconnect, some point where we as a team will need to bring in a synergy in this, where we could be able to handle the client and make them understand together, because we try our best, but yet he says, this is my property, my money, why are you objecting to it?
Because he will never get the rate. As my developer friends were saying, that you create a business plan around it, and you sign up for a Radisson because the location demands a Radisson. If it was a blue location, we would have signed for a blue.
And just to add more, just to add more to that, you can take it as a strength, because when you have the brand standards and the design direction, and owner has its inspiration, which always will be in a project, there is a lot of filter which is done because of the brand. Otherwise, the design is so subjective. Like the owner will have his say, the owners further will have some say, rep will have say, designer will have. So through these brand standards, you also filter it and make it less subjective and be like really focused, okay, this is the ethos of the brand and we have to follow that. And within that, there is a lot of flexibility.
You want to say something,
Yeah.
please?
So the take is actually, we are from technical, we are going to provide and advise ownership on the technical aspects. This question is actually more for business development. I mean, the brand, what brand it should be clear from day one, and that discussion should happen much earlier on. once, the brand is defined, okay, we are doing either a courtyard or a Marriott, then we should follow it all the way. If the courtyard starts bleeding into a Marriott, okay, just before opening, the owner would obviously look at, okay, I've overspent in a courtyard, my expectation should be there should be a brand upgrade, but then at the end of the day, it's the guest who'd obviously feel, I would say, would feel a bit unfair, because he's entering a property, a Marriott hotel, which does look like between a courtyard and a Marriott. So the ROI will never be there. So I think it's very important for us to really, as consultants, advise the ownership. Let's talk and discuss and agree on the brand at the very beginning, rather than keep that discussion for later and creating more challenges later on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Any other question? Okay, somebody there at the back side. Very quickly. I don't think we'll be. Okay.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Myself, Gajesh here.
Hi, Gajesh.
One small future element we were talking about. So, what all can we add to our industry? I can say one is a different experience to each and every property what we are talking about. So, what different can we add on is basically work from home, which is the post-COVID which we are talking about. So, how each and everyone wants to travel across. So, how we can add on that element to each of our property basically. That is one we can think over, where people will love to stay a different part of the world, different part of hotels and so on basically. And at the same time, when we talk about in groups, it's co-working spaces, what we talk about. And
what's your question, Gajesh?
So the question is basically we're talking about the different experience to our industry, what we're talking about. So just an element which we can add on is basically a different experience. We're talking about work from home experience within our hotel itself basically. So that's we can add on as a future element, has an add-on basically.
No, it's there already. Everybody talked about it. Work from any. It's no more work from home. It's work from anywhere. Your question?
Correct, that's true.
Hi, I would like to answer this question for Cosima. Cosima, it's joint responsibility, all of us. If owner deviates, it's the responsibility of the developer, it's responsibility of the architect and interior designer as well, and the technical team. All of us are to be blamed if there's a deviation.
Anybody else? Yeah, there's one guy there. I can see a hand there. But try and be brief, huh? Everybody should.
Hi, this is Rajneesh. My question to all of you on the dais is that while we all talk of sustainability, we take the responsibility on us as a team, as designers, as the owner also. But can we also share this responsibility with our guests in a very presentable way? Can we have measurement or quantification of the energy used by the guest, especially the water or the air conditioning? And while checking out, if we present him, a thank you letter, that we may not give it to people who have overused, but at least incentivize people that thank you for being helping us to make this environment greener.
Very good question. Very good. I think that's a good suggestion. Yeah.
Rajneesh, I think we had a discussion in the morning also. Like sustainability is no more a buzzword. In fact, a lot of properties what we currently working in, of course, I think we haven't touched on that one, I would say definitely, but it's very much well, in fact, we are pushing on a lot of those areas, I would say definitely. Like, in fact, the property which we recently opened in Bangalore, it's a very LEED certified building. In fact, it is making a lot of difference in terms of ops, cost component also.
Yeah, the lead in all is going, but good question. I think she's now Sorry, no way. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what I will say is, I'll conclude it by saying that it's for Cosima's question, it's all about teamwork. It's no individual responsibility. Interior designers, architects, brands, if we all work as a team and if we are in unison, the ownership always understands. Ultimately, end of the day, unless you are all thinking on the same line or you are working with the same purpose, it doesn't happen the correct way. And then the conflicts start to happen. The important thing is the teamwork. Work as a team and achieve your success. And similarly, sustainability is also about teamwork and participation. Whatever measures the ownership or the people may spend, or greenhouse, or IGBCs, or the leads, or all these guys can do, at the end of the day, the person has to be personally responsible. I mean, he should know what is his personal individual responsibility. We've had several sessions on that in our earlier high aims. We are also part of, high aim is also part of Responsible Tourism Society of India, because ultimately every individual will have to be responsible towards the climate change, towards the planet, and towards the nature, Mother Earth. So I think that's the way I will conclude. And the best question award, I think.
Yes, we'll need to select 2 questions.
Was it Rajneesh?
Rajneesh, definitely.
Rajneesh was the best. And
Cosima.
Cosima, of course.
We'd like to invite the 2 gentlemen to kindly come on stage. Definitely a great tip also, not just a question, but a great tip as well that the hospitality industry can implement when it comes to sustainability as well. We'd like to thank all our panelists as well and the moderator as well for making sure that we finished on time this session, because we are coming in between your lunch now.
This is your key to earn much more. Cosima, I know you will not use it. You will have to keep it to somebody else, right?
Finally, you got it.
Can I?
Thank you to those who asked the question, and thank you to our panelists who answered the questions as well, and our moderator as well for this. We'd now like to present a token of appreciation to all our panelists, and I'd like to, invite Mr. Ramesh Kaul on stage to kindly hand over this token of appreciation to all our panelists for bringing out this fabulous discussion. We'd like to start with Ms. Reema Dewan. We definitely want to show what this is as well. We're keeping it very protected. But it's a very beautiful thanka, I believe.
Yeah, you might be wondering what's inside a plastic. There are a lot of people are scared of these days, things wrapped in plastic.
So we hope that this will find a very special place in all of our panelists' homes or offices, and we hope that this will remind you of the AiM conference that you participated in.
Wow.
Hand-painted Thanka paintings to all our panelists. We'd like to thank once again Ms. Reema Dewan, Ganesh Madasamy, Mr. Mandar Zawari, Mr. Sahil Khan, and Mr. Senthil Kumar for your valuable inputs in this session where we discussed
We're
the
talking
new...
about sustainability. I think the first thing we should do is remove all the plastics and just hand over without the plastics. And make sure the plastic goes to the right place.
That's called quick action.
Yes. So thank you to all our panelists one more time for bringing forth some great points on new essential elements for emerging hospitality market. A group photo, and we end this session. This panel discussed about the new elements that are a must for this particular scenario when we talk about a successful brand, when we're talking about a successful hotel, and how they need to adapt to the new trends and to the new demands of the market and the customers as well. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put our hands together for this fabulous second session?